Batu Khan, L. 1205–1255 AD, was a grandson of Genghis Khan and the founder of the Golden Horde. Batu was a skilled Mongol military commander and won battles from China to Persia, although his most famous exploits involved the Grand Mongol campaign into Europe from 1236 to 1241 AD, which resulted in the Mongol horde annihilating the armies of Russia, Poland, and Hungary, among others. Later Batu would serve as the kingmaker of the Mongol Empire, effectively the most powerful man in the empire for a time. Born in the saddle. Batu was born around 1205 AD, right around the time that the Mongol chieftain Temujin was about to establish himself as ruler of all the Mongols and be proclaimed Genghis Khan, or 1206 to 1227 AD. Batu was the son of Jochi, Genghis' eldest son, and so he was born into the upper echelon of Mongol society. However, Jochi was born after a rival clan had kidnapped Genghis' wife, Borte, so it was uncertain, perhaps even to Genghis, whether Jochi was really his son. Nonetheless, Batu was treated as the grandson of the great Khan. Batu's life would not be a relaxed one just because he was born as a Mongol elite. The Mongols were a nomadic people that ranged across the steppes, tending to flocks and moving with them by the seasons. They lived in packable yurt tents. Mongol children learned to ride practically from birth, and wrestling and archery followed shortly thereafter. These traits, which are still valued in contemporary Mongolian society, helped create the fearsome war machine that Genghis led across the known world. With this upbringing, Batu was a well-trained horseman and skilled in Mongol warfare by the time he reached adulthood. Western inheritance. As the Mongol Empire expanded under Genghis Khan, conquering northern China and all of Central Asia, venturing into the edges of Europe and the Middle East, he laid out uppunages for each of his 4 sons. Per Mongol tradition, the eldest son received land furthest from the homeland, so Jochi was allocated all the lands from the Ural River to, according to the Persian historian Ģevaņi, as far in that direction as the hoof of the Tartar, i.e. Mongol, horse had penetrated. Jochi would die the same year as Genghis, and in 1229 AD the royal family's Kurultai, or council, formalized the division of uppunages. Following Jochi's death in 1227 AD, Batu and his elder brother Orda divided the Jochid uppunage between themselves. Orda acquiesced that Batu should be the primary successor to Jochi, and so Orda took the territory closer to the Mongol homeland while Batu took everything to the west of the Volga. While Mongol soldiers had ventured beyond the Volga before, little of this territory had been permanently subjected to Mongol rule. Batu had the potential to rule the largest uppunage in the Mongol Empire, but for now, it was just potential. The odds of this potential ever being realized must have seemed unlikely in 1229 AD. According to custom, Genghis had left the bulk of his soldiers to his youngest son, only providing 4,000 soldiers to each of his other 3 sons. The Kurultai had elected Genghis' third son, Ōģeģeģi, or 1229 to 1241 AD, as the new Great Khan, and Ōģeģeģi Khan seemed fixated on conquering the rest of northern China. Batu was present during these campaigns that ultimately destroyed the Jurchen Jin state in 1234 AD. In the Kurultai that followed, Ōģeģeģi showed himself to be his father's son. The Mongol juggernaut would not attack just one enemy but would open up fronts across the known world. The Song dynasty in southern China and Korea would be targeted, and, importantly for Batu, so would Europe. The ride west. Ōģeģeģi gave Batu command over the European campaign. Over 100,000 soldiers were gathered to ride to Batu's uppunage and make the Mongols a name Europe would never forget. Among those gathered was ꞉ᴜᴜ. ꞉ᴜᴜ was one of Genghis Khan's 4 orloks, or field marshals. The secret history of the Mongols likened the 4 orloks to the 4 dogs of Temujin, devouring flesh and unleashing carnage wherever they went. ꞉ᴜᴜ was the true commander of this great campaign west, both due to his enviable command experience, but also because he had already campaigned successfully in Russia back in the days of Genghis Khan. During the Mongols' campaign against the Khwarezm Empire, ꞉ᴜᴜ and Ģeභ, another one of Genghis' 4 dogs, led a great cavalry raid from Azerbaijan up through the Caucasus and into Russia. This raid destroyed the Georgian army and plundered settlements along the Russian steppe. In 1223 AD, the Cumans and a host of Russian states combined their armies to finally put a stop to this devastating raid. At the Battle of the Volga River, the Mongol raiding party destroyed the armies of Russia and executed Mstislav III of Kiev, r. 1212–1223. Subutai would bring this experience to the campaign, no longer a raid like in 1223 AD, but a full-fledged campaign of conquest.
Kingmaker. With the Great Khan dead, Mongol law, the Yasa, demanded a Kurultai of the royal family back in the homeland. All of the major princes, many of whom were campaigning in Europe, rode back home to determine who would succeed ōģītī. As the head of the Jochid branch of Genghis family, Batu had a potential claim. The great Khatun Torjin, the widow of ōģītī and mother of Gayuk, invited Batu back, but Batu, perhaps suspecting a trap, remained in his territory, delaying the Kurultai several years. Finally, in 1246 AD Gayuk was proclaimed the next great Khan. Meanwhile, Batu settled down to not just being a conqueror but also an administrator. Batu became the de facto ruler of the western territories of the Mongol Empire. He received the new generation of Russian princes as vassals for the Golden Horde. He appointed Mongol officials and governors for Europe, the Caucasus, and Persia. Yet Gayuk began to distrust Batu and moved west from Mongolia with an army. ᴍᴜᴜ, the widow of 괱ᴜᴜ, Genghis' youngest son, warned Batu that he was Gayuk's target. When Gayuk summoned Batu, Batu delayed and made excuses until Gayuk happened to die. ᴍᴜᴜ had made a smart bet. She had won Batu's thanks and now her son Monk was allied with Batu. In a surprise move, Batu called a Kurultai not in the Mongol heartland, as tradition demanded, but instead in his territory in Russia. This Kurultai first offered the position of Great Khan to Batu, but the warlord refused. Instead, he promoted Monk. The Jochid and ōģītī branches in agreement, Batu then orchestrated a second Kurultai in Mongolia itself. The other two branches of the family, the reigning ōģītīs and the Ċagatāids, refused to attend. Monk was declared the fourth Great Khan in 1251 AD, and Batu enforced the decision, punishing the ōģītīs and Ċagatāids, executing Buri, the leading Ċagatāid. Monk was Great Khan, but Batu was the kingmaker. Establishment of the Golden Horde. Now at the height of his prestige, Batu was continuing to consolidate his hold on Russia. He defeated an uprising of Russian princes and placed the princes under an even tighter vassalage. Batu established the city of Sarai near the Volga as his administrative capital for the Golden Horde. Tribute flooded in from his vassals and laid the groundwork for future campaigns, raids, and conquests. It was from here that his descendants would continue to rule Russia from the steppe for generations to come. When Batu died in 1255 AD, the Golden Horde passed to his son Sardak, r. 1256 AD. The Golden Horde would continue to dominate Russia for 2 centuries, with Mongol kingdoms in Russia surviving until the reign of Ivan the Terrible, r. 1533–1584 AD, in the mid-16th century AD, and in the Crimea until practically the 19th century AD.